You are the only one who is.
Is on.
So you are only one who is authorized to do the live streaming.
No, actually, a lot of Givethers are. Chris is able to. Chris is the main one, and if you want to start doing live streaming, we can make that happen. I'm just gonna check to make sure. I've been having trouble lately with these live streams, so I want to make sure that it's actually working.
Okay. Great.
Let's see. Are you live streaming? Are you live streaming? Yeah. See, it might not be working. But let's see. Maybe I'll go to. Oh, okay. I have different permissions in different browsers. Okay, yeah, we're live. It's happening now. In public. Great. Okay, we'll call this overview of liquid pledging. This is so meta. We're live streaming this, the creation of the live stream. Is there no save? All changes are saved. Okay.
Live stream is on, as I see. You are waiting for live stream to start?
No, there's just a 2-minute delay maybe, so that if there's a so if there's a buffering issue, then it doesn't cause any problems. Okay, so as I was saying, liquid pledging is really a it's really a really interesting database contract. So its goal is to create a fund management system where you can delegate authority over your funds while maintaining authority, like the actual authority over how those funds are spent. That's the goal of the system, and it's really great for our use because then you can have transparent donations where you can delegate the authority of someone to spend your delegation while maintaining veto power. So the base contracts are they're very complex, unfortunately, and you can kind of say that it starts at liquid pledging base. Liquid pledging base assumes that you've already deployed a vault, which holds the tokens of value. And a little history: these contracts were meant to be deployed on mainnet, but then we had this issue where CryptoKitties was going on, and Ethereum was worth like $1,400, and it was too expensive to use on mainnet. So we had to create a solution that bridged it to Rinkeby so that we could reduce gas costs. And so it's a little bit complicated unnecessarily because of that last minute major use case change. And the general workflow is someone makes a donation on mainnet. we have a bridge contract that then holds that donation on mainnet and emits an event that our bridge service hears, and then mints a token to represent that donation on Rinkeby. And then that token gets abstracted again in the form of a pledge. So when that token actually goes straight to this vault right here, and then a pledge.
Sorry. I don't see your screen. Actually, I seeing just an old picture of. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Let me see what screen I'm sharing.
Oh, I don't see. Here
we go. And
okay.
now, do you see it now?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I'm in liquid pledging base.sol. And liquid pledging base.sol assumes that you've already deployed a vault. This vault is holding the tokens on Rinkeby that represent the donations that were made in the bridge. When you make a donation in the bridge, you have to say who made the donation, the giver ID, and where the donation is going, whether it's a DAC, a campaign, or a milestone. And those all have a receiver ID. And so there's an event in the bridge that's emitted, and our bridge service picks it up, creates tokens that go to this vault and represents the donation on the bridge, and then creates a pledge. And that pledge will basically represent that donation, the original donation. And instead of it being a token, it actually is more of a line in a database. And each pledge has certain different what do you call these attributes, right? So
sorry for interrupting. Still, yeah, I'm seeing that aesthetic. I don't know. You are, and it's mentioned, and Jitsi says that you have connectivity issues.
Well,
yeah, I'm seeing some picture right now, but when you are, change tab, please. Oh no.
No, it doesn't like this tab, huh?
No. Do you think refreshing the Jitsi Meet would help?
Sure, I can try.
Okay, I'm waiting for you. Hi again.
Hey, can you see this now?
Yeah, I'm seeing your pointer, your mouse pointer. Good.
Do you see the text beneath it?
Yeah, it's changing. Yeah, it's good. I have studied. Hopefully, I have studied the code before, so it makes sense for me. Even if, without seeing the screen. So we can continue.
Okay, cool. So each pledge actually has a few different states or attributes, you could say. So it has a pledge owner, which is the address that has veto power over the pledge and really has control of the pledge.
Is giver ID? It's giver.
Giver ID ends up becoming the pledge owner.
Yeah.
Or, well, if you give it to a DAC, if you give it to a campaign, the giver ID ends up being stored in the old state. So you actually create, I believe, you create a pledge where the giver ID is the owner, but then you also do a direct transaction that sends it to that transfers the pledge to a new owner, which will be either the milestone or the well, or the campaign. And honestly, we'll have to look at the milestone because I think that used to be the case, and now I think that when you donate to a milestone, actually the tokens go directly to that milestone, the Rinkeby tokens, instead of going to the vault. So things are a little complicated in our implementation, but I'm going to kind of gloss over some of those implementation details and not mention them again to try to maintain like simplicity, because once you get the foundation, then I think we can start adding more complexity. So we're going to just use the use case that someone is donating to a DAC, right? Someone wants to donate one die to the Giveth DAC. When they do that, they send one die to our bridge. They emit the giver ID and receiver ID for their donation, and our bridge service catches it. The token goes to the vault, and a pledge is created. In that pledge, the giver is the owner, and this is the giver ID ends up being mapped to the admin ID, I believe. And then there is a delegation chain, and now in the delegation chain, you have the manager of the DAC. In the Giveth DAC, it's me. So now I am in the delegation chain of the admin ID, right? And then you have, let's see what the next states are. Then you have the ID of the pledge, which I'm not sure. Let me see. I believe the next thing is the ID of the pledge. Let me see if I can find it. Maybe it's
I
better.
will check that. I will check that. Because I'm seeing that in the ID, and then I can jump to the source. Just give me a
Yeah,
moment.
I think it's probably better displayed in the pledging plugin here.
Find or create pledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So the first is.
yeah. Oh, I don't. Yeah. Yes. The second, the third is intended project.
Okay, the third is intended project.
The fourth is
Yeah.
commit time. 5 is
Where
old
are you
play.
finding this?
What? Well, it's on the plates, I guess.
Is it liquid
Yeah,
base?
it's a sound file with the plates that's sold because I have built the system. It's a file in under the embark subfolder, and yeah, and I let's find it. Where is the source?
Okay, let's see.
Let's find it. Yeah, it's on contracts plates. Yeah, it's in folder contracts and the folder play, and the file name is pledges.sol.
Oh, nice. Pledges.sol.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, pledge.
Sorry. Let's I repeat that become clear for myself. So as I said, when a user is is donating some money to DAC, the pledge is created. The owner is the giver, for example, me, and if the DAC is put in the delegation change, yes.
Yeah, the DAC campaign manager or the DAC manager, their giver ID is in the delegation chain.
So the user cannot be changed. The manager of DAC cannot be changed in future.
I mean, yeah, it can be changed, and when that happens, the delegation chain is changed,
Okay. Okay.
and so then the intended project is 0 because the intended project is changes if the DAC person manager tries to donate that pledge. The commit time for Giveth is always 3 days, and but in the base contract that can be a variable. The old pledge for this one, there is no old pledge, and the state would be pledged, and then the index number is basically the pledge ID. So that's the
Yeah.
information that's in every pledge, but also there's also the token and the amount in the pledge. I'm surprised that's not really mentioned, but there is an amount and the token that the pledge represents.
Yeah, because if in the concept of normalized pledge function, I guess the old pledge will always exist, and guess to find or create pledge will find the pledge, and it doesn't need the amount to search the pledge.
Yes, exactly. So let's continue with this idea that you are a giver. You delegated or you donated 1 die to the Giveth DAC, and now you have a pledge that represents that donation, right? Now I
Yeah.
try as the DAC manager, I delegate the pledge to another. I delegate it to the DAP campaign, right? I'm just going to give it straight to the campaign. So the main thing that happens is the pledge will actually, let's see, let's go back to this. The pledge will change, and it will have it will just have an intended the intended project will now be the campaign ID. So the receiver ID for the campaign gets added to the pledge, right? But that actually doesn't happen. So it's kind of weird, but you create a new pledge, and until there is a normalization, the both pledges exist. And then when there is an action, like let's say that you go and click the commit button, the first thing that happens is the pledges get normalized. And so the database of liquid pledging sees that there are 2 pledges that represent the same amount. So it transfers the amount from the old pledge to the new pledge, and then updates the intended project to 0. And now again, 2 pledges kind of exist. And it gets really complicated because of this normalization, but it also makes things cheaper gas wise to normalize upon every action. And it ended up solving some major issues with how to append the database. So, and
Uh,
that's the biggest trick in liquid pledging, is that after every action, 2 pledges exist, the old pledge and the new pledge. And until the next action, they both exist, and then they're normalized.
and what's the length of delegation? What's the length of delegation change? As I guess it would be at most 1. Yes.
Yeah, for our purposes, we don't allow delegation between DACs. So there will only ever be one person in the delegation chain.
Yeah.
If we allowed the Giveth DAC to delegate to the common stack DAC, then you could have two pledges or two delegates in the delegation chain. But we didn't allow that feature.
So we don't create when we delegate from one deck to another. We don't create new pledge. Yes, we use the same pledge and just uh, append the new deck ID to the delegation change. Am I
Yes,
right?
you are right. However, we never do that in our actual implementation.
Oh, so the decks cannot delegate to each other.
No, at least not on the front end. Obviously, in the smart contracts, you could, but we don't allow that feature in the front end.
Yeah.
There are lots of features that the base smart contracts allow that we do not implement in our current system. Like commit time is a variable. It can be anything. We just set it for 3 days. It's always 3 days when someone sends it to a DAC, and then it's basically 0 if it's in a campaign, and that's it. There's no other thing, and that the commit time allows for the veto option, but we only allow people to veto donations that are sent to DACs.
You mean refund? Yeah.
Yeah, the refund. The refund is would be something a little different. The refund actually transfers the pledge to 0 and then burns the tokens and sends the tokens to the person's address. Right? That's how refund works right now. And
Yeah.
so the person actually has it when you click refund. The pledge is changed to 0 in the amount, and the vault transfers the tokens that the pledge represent to the person who owned that pledge. In almost every case, that will be the person who clicks the refund button. And so the I don't know if this feature ever got implemented, but when someone refunds it, right now, if they click the refund button, they're going to have tokens on Rinkeby that represent token in their address that represent tokens in the bridge. So they have to actually manually call another function to burn those tokens and get the tokens sent to them in the bridge, which is a little complicated.
Yeah.
So the refund functionality barely works right now. It's pretty manual.
Yeah. And what's the purpose of commit time? I didn't get that. I thought it was for refunding, and after 3 days, user cannot refund. But I didn't get
No.
that. What's the purpose of commit time?
Commit time is for vetoing. So when when you donate that one die to the Giveth DAC, and I say, hey, I want to send this die to the Giveth DApp. When I make that transaction, the commit time represents how long I have to wait before that pledge can actually go to that other campaign, to the DApp campaign. So during that time, if the user doesn't like the DApp campaign, they can veto, and they can say, no, I don't want it to go there. And then the pledge just goes back to being in the DAC. It has nothing to do with refunding. It has more to do with vetoing, which is a different thing altogether. It's all about the DAC basically notifies the original donor that, hey, I'm going to send your money to here unless you disagree. If they say nothing after the commit time, then the money goes to the new campaign. If they say no before the commit time is over, then the money stays where it is.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. What other issues do you think would help you understand this crazy fucking set of contracts?
Yep. How I can find hold the pledge and a DAC own. Uh, you know.
It's
I guess there are multiple pledges. Uh, is for a DAC, and all the value in there are for the DAC. So how can I get the list of them for each entity? For example, campaign, DAC, milestone.
Yeah, it's actually really difficult because Ethereum sucks at this kind of stuff. Uh, because like the information is very hidden, deep down the stack in like bytecode. But Chavi, who currently works for Vokdoni, he created this, and I can give you access to him. He created this liquid pledging user interface. So this what I would do if you really want to see all the pledges, you really need to. I think we need to start updating this repo. And this is basically a pledge explorer. So you can see exactly what is going on in all of these pledges. And it's really not easy otherwise, unfortunately. But it is easy here, you know, and you can start to see, I need to get to the right, oh, one of the big problems, it doesn't work right now because it needs to be updated to tell MetaMask to connect. Like it doesn't do that connect thing, you know, where you need to connect a address. Like this was made before you had to do that. So that's the big update before I can even show you how this thing works. We need to update it so that it has a button that says sign in to MetaMask, like ask permission to MetaMask to display your address.
Wait, can you give me access, the right permission to this repository? I may update that to work.
Oh, hell yeah, I can. I don't think that it's going to be dangerous for me to do this here. I think that I can. Oh, I see. Okay, I have to stop sharing.
Okay.
And let me just add you here.
As I saw, pledge storage keep the list of pledges, and I thought there is a method to walk through pledges, and for each owner, for each, as you said, the owner is always the giver. Yeah, I
The
was
owner is
thinking
not
about
always the
giving.
giver. The owner is only always the giver if it goes to a DAC. When a donation goes to the campaign, there is a first pledge that's I believe there is one pledge that's created that has the giver as the owner, but then there is another pledge, but then instantly that pledge is transferred to another pledge where the campaign manager is the owner, and the old pledge ID is that first pledge that was created.
And the first pledge amount is 0. Yeah.
And the first pledge amount,
The old.
the old pledge amount is 0.
So each time I do donation, it's great. Another pledge, or no, it will reuse my last. It will.
It creates a new pledge. It creates a new pledge, and makes the campaign it creates, every time you do a donation to a campaign, it creates 2 pledges. One, the first pledge it creates is just like a DAC pledge, where there is, but the delegation chain is empty. And the second change, change it makes is and then it does a transfer, and it moves that pledge directly to the campaign. It also, yeah.
The first pledge intended project is the campaign.
The first pledge, the intended project. No, I don't even think the intended project is a campaign. I think the intended project is 0, and that because you're the owner, you can just transfer a pledge. So because there's kind of 2 functions. You can delegate a pledge or you can transfer a pledge. The delegate can only delegate a pledge, but the owner can straight up transfer a pledge.
So as I guess, because we have a method find or create, if I donate with the same token. Every time it will reuse my pledge, which I'm the owner, and because it's
Honestly, it's very rare. It's very rare that pledges are reused. Almost every action creates a new pledge.
Okay.
What's your GitHub name?
Amin Latifi. Simply just concat my name and family.
So AMIN.
Yes, I can write yes here.
Thank you. Latifi. Let's see.
Just simple.
Amin Latifi is not a GitHub member. Oh, there we go. Okay, you don't use the amount, the @ sign.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can make you admin. Okay, made you an admin. So you have complete control over this repo.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's go back to sharing. Okay, so what else? What other questions do you have about liquid pledging?
To wrap up, I want to find out some conflict between the donation amount in the DAG campaign milestone and what's in the blockchain. And so to do that, for milestones and campaign, I should just find pledges whose owner is campaign or milestone. Yes. Walk through them.
So I think for campaigns that works. For a campaign, campaigns generally only hold pledges. I'm pretty sure. But that's not true for milestones. So in a campaign, let's see. So one thing to say or to mention is that, so the liquid pledging base and liquid pledging.sol really implement a basic database functionality that has write, read, append, delete features, although I don't think there is very much deletion. It's only when you cancel a campaign or cancel a milestone that deletion happens. But it also implements this other thing, which is the interface, which allows you to call this before and after transfer. So this is kind of like an extra functionality that you can give to an external contract, that anytime you transfer a pledge, you can say, well, go ask this contract if there's something that you should do before or after transferring the pledge. And
They
this functionality allows for liquid pledging to be extremely extensible.
they
Uh,
are plugins. Yeah, I've seen
yeah,
them.
yeah, these are
Uh,
the plugins. So like the campaign is a plugin, milestones are plugins. And
so,
so the campaign plugin is this contract that I'm in right now. And when something is held by a campaign, then there is a before transfer plugin that checks to make sure that certain updates happen in a certain way, and also makes checks to see if the transfer should be allowed. This is also, there's some other things that happen after transfer. Uh, oh no, actually nothing happens after transfer. There's only the before transfer plugin. But campaigns have a lot of extra features, and I believe the owner of each pledge in a campaign might be the campaign address itself. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it might be. The other thing is that campaigns and milestones have been upgraded to be Aragon apps because I still kind of dream of making liquid pledging become an Aragon app. So, but that's a pretty there's a lot of overhead to being an Aragon app. So it ended up making these contracts very confusing because Aragon uses this ACL logic, like account. It's basically a permission management system that is a little complicated. So yeah, that's it's worth reading the it's pretty well documented, and if you want to understand this contract, it's probably worth reading the comments, although actually it doesn't look as well documented as I would have liked. So yeah.
So we should go step by step and start straight forward. Let's start with campaign. We want to go through plays of campaign and see whether the sum of pledge amount in the blockchain is equal to some of them that in the Mongo. So the best way to go through my campaign my pledge, I don't know. I thought it's you say that it's just got just filtering pledge with which whose owner is campaign would work. Yeah, do you agree?
Uh, I am not 100% sure. It's either an owner ID or there's an ID project. So
Oh,
one of those two will be the way to tell a um, if a contract, sorry, if a pledge is connected to a campaign.
yeah. And what should be the estate of the pledge?
The state of the pledge should be
Status, estate, yeah,
yes,
estate.
the state. I believe the state should be pledged. Let me see. What are the options for the states? It's not
Paying
pledging.
and paid. Pledged, paying and paid.
Pledged.
Yeah. Yes. I'm confused with the other.
The other
Uh,
ones are only for like when when a transfer has happened. Let's see. I bet we can find this by searching this for pain. Oh, come on. Normal operations. $146. This looks good. Okay, so when you call withdraw and you say, hey, I want to move money out of liquid pledging and into the bridge, then the pledge state turns to paying. So and then when the vault actually burns the token, then the pledge state turns to paid. So there's almost never a pledge that says paying. It'll be very rare because these actions happen in sequence. So there's almost never a paying. It's only ever pledged or paid in practice.
Yeah.
Because the vault, assuming that there isn't something that breaks in the process, like there wasn't enough gas added to the transaction or something like that, then the state would always go straight from pledged to paying to paid in one transaction.
Yeah, makes sense. So the purpose of normalized pledge is, the name is make me confused. The normalize is misleading. If you want to, there's comments, but each time I read that, I couldn't understand what's the reason. And what did you name that for normalize?
So normalizing is basically when you check to make sure that there are no incomplete actions. So every action leaves a incomplete state on liquid pledging, and it's relatively annoying, but basically every last action isn't complete until the next action.
Yeah.
And so the normalized state is something that's called when you create a new action and it updates the previous action, and then by calling normalized state, and then creates a new incomplete action.
It's because of commit time?
It will update. It will update commit time. It will update everything in the pledge.
I'm saying it's because of commit time, because get time is bigger than commit time. Yeah. Oh no, it says that it should. Yeah. No.
It's really just something that just we had to do for gas, pretty much, and it's really lame. Let's see. It looks like it's in base.
Yeah, liquid pledging base.
Line 103. And you'll see function normalized pledge. It finds the pledge ID. It makes sure the pledge hasn't been used somewhere. It updates. It checks to see if this updates whether or not the DAC can actually move the fund, move the pledge to the campaign. I guess maybe that's its main function. So its main function is to check to see if the commit time has passed and it can move the pledge to the campaign or to the milestone.
Yeah. I guess it would be better to rename that. What do you think?
Yeah, but we can't change any of the smart contract.
Yeah, but it's not necessary. Yeah. Yeah, it's you use proxy. I saw that you can upgrade. Yeah.
Yes, but the process of double checking, like when we upgraded these original contracts, we had to, we had Audria spend like 2 or 3 days reviewing all of the code, making sure that the changes make sense.
Yeah, we don't do that. We should not do that for just minor change like this.
No, yeah, it's something that we should probably just assume will never happen. So, like,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen for this version.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the main thing of normalized pledge is you check to see if you can move the pledge to a project, and then any pledges to projects, and then you continue on. So I guess that's the main thing that normalized pledge does. Because actually, I guess when we do things, we normalize pledges like pretty extensively. Like we call this normalized pledge function a lot.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Thank you for introduction. It's so helpful and it makes me learn so fast.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been following this for a long time, so I'm sure that I can save you time. If you get stuck on anything else, please chat me up. And also Chavi. Chavi is not always the easiest person to reach when you're doing the UI stuff, but if you need his help and he's not responding to you, or you need his contact information somehow, I will. Feel free to reach out to me because I wouldn't say he owes me some favors, but he'd be happy to do some favors for me.
Okay, great. Thank you. I will do that. I will see the code. I hope I can do it myself. If I couldn't, I will reach out to you.
Please do.
Sure.
Well, cool. Thanks, Amin.
Thank you. Have a good day and Happy New Year again.
Yeah. Oh, hey, are there? Let's see. Let's turn off the live stream.